Can I have the lights off, please, because it has to project better? A very good evening to all of you. It's my privilege and honor to be here amongst all of you this evening. My very sincere thanks to Ram Madhavji and Hari Kiranji and my good friend Vikram Sampath. I have all of 15 minutes to go through 2000 years of temple architecture. Mine is a most unenviable position, but I'll try to do my best. You see, we have no idea when temples started being built in India, but we do know that the earliest temples were made of what we call perishable material, out of wood or out of bricks supported by metal. And then from, I need the projection, please. And stop the time. Okay. Because this keeps on clicking. So, no, please don't run it. Pause it. And when I say next, please change the slide. Yeah, stop here. So, among the earliest we know of religious structures is this one in Barabar Hills in Bihar. This was meant for a group of people called the Ajivikas and belongs to the 3rd century BC, to the time of Ashoka. I need the pictures, please. And I need the pictures to be projected here, please. Okay, so this is a cave temple that is dug into very, very hard rock. This is granite. And this they have done in the 3rd century BC in the Mauryan times. Next. So this is how the cave actually looks. It's meters deep inside. Next. It's not an easy thing to do when you don't have the sophisticated machinery and the tools that we have these days. Look at the facade. Look at the outer part of the cave. Next. And this is exactly how it looks. You see those little things sticking out there at the outer part of the cave are meant to replicate wood because they were coming out of the timber tradition and into the stone tradition. Look at the layers that they have from the outside going inside, made with the basic tools possible, a hammer and some chisel or whatever. Next. Next, please. We need next. So this is how it looks. And these are the minutest carvings on granite. This is 2,300 years ago in India. Next, please. Next. Keep going. Now we come to Sanchi. It's very well known. I'm showcasing Buddhist architecture here. This was a stupa that was originally done by Ashoka, but then later a dynasty called the Shungas came along and they rebuilt it. Next, please. What this stupa, the Mahastupa in Sanchi, is really known for are its toranas. These are the 4 entranceways. All this is made of sandstone. Next, please. And these are amazing, amazing architectural skill. And there is a particular inscription on one of the toranas of the stupa of Sanchi that says that these carvings were made by ivory carvers of a place called Vidisha. So the intricacy brought into ivory carving was brought into stone over here. Next, please. This is how the Sanchi toranas look. Next. Keep going through the next 2 slides. You can see the intricacy and all of the Jatakas and the life of Buddha are carved over here. Next. Next, please. Keep going. This is how it looks. Next. We go to Ajanta, also Buddhist in nature. The caves having been dug out, scooped out of that volcanic rock between the 2nd century AD and approximately the 2nd century BC and the 5th century AD. Pass through the next few slides fast. Won't they enlarge by themselves? Because I'm running out of time desperately. So this is the Horseshoe formation of the volcanic rocks caves in Ajanta. Keep moving, please. So these are divided into 2 sets, some of the chaityas where they prayed and some are the viharas where the Buddhist monks lived. Slide, please. I can't take this forward without the slides. Okay, now we are coming all the way. We've skipped 5 slides. Please, can I go back? Back, 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 back. This is not helping my presentation at all. Back, back, back. Please stop here. Okay, we are going to a place called Badami in Karnataka, ancient Vatapi, which was the capital of a dynasty called the Chalukyas. Next, please. So there are 4 caves in Badami, amazing caves carved into sandstone rock. Next, please. I would like you to see this particular sculpture. Next slide, please. This particular sculpture of a huge Nataraja. I want you to see how his forearm comes out of that rock. Now, this has been done directly on the wall surface, and the sculptor, the anonymous sculptor who made this, didn't have any opportunity for making a mistake. Had he made a mistake, the whole thing would have gone out. But you can see that you can put your hand between his hand and his body over here, and the top left hand, the middle left hand is also sticking out of the rock. So this is a 3D image that this sculptor has created in the 6th century AD. Next, please. This is a cave temple, another cave temple in Badami. Next, please. These are the pillars. You know, today we so easily use the word handmade, handmade paper, handmade this, handmade that. What is this? This is handcrafted by the hands of anonymous sculptors. Next, please. This is how it looks. You're chipping into hard rock. You don't even know where you're going because there's only that hard rock in front of you. They don't have a ground plan. They can't build like this. So we're going millimeter by millimeter, centimeter by centimeter, and creating such outstanding things. Next. And this is on the ceiling. You know, we talk about great artists like Michelangelo and others. I'm not a detractor. Theirs are also great pieces of art. But then this man was doing this on the ceiling. He must have had a scaffolding like this, lying down on his back and carving something like this, with all that dirt and dust and stone falling into his eyes, and he hasn't left his name behind. That's the Indian tradition. All this applause goes to that anonymous sculptor. Next, please. All this is on the ceiling of the cave temples of Badami. Next. All of this. Next, please. And the pillars over here. Outstanding miniature workmanship. Next 3 slides, keep going through. We can only stand and observe. No words are necessary. These are like the ribs of our body, the ribs of the pillar. Next, please. Keep going. I am now crossing the river Malaprabha in Karnataka. Next. And we are going to a place called Aihole. Now, the structural temple, the slide before, the structural temple tradition starts. Can you see the shape of this temple? It's got a beautiful name in Sanskritam. It's called Gaja Prishta. You all know that Gaja is elephant and Prishta is back. So if you view it from the back, it looks like the carved back of an elephant. And that's the architectural terminology for this. Next, please. This is a lovely double-storied temple. Can you see the lines on the roof? Now, the lines have been put there on purpose by the architects to replicate the wooden tradition that they were used to before they transferred to the stone medium. Next, please. I'm taking you now to Tamil Nadu. This is a place about 5 hours journey from Chennai, the capital of Tamil Nadu. This place is called the Rock Fort. Please, next. And this is a lovely little 7th century temple. It's also a cave temple. Next. And here inside you find one of the best representations of Gangadhara, Shiva. You can see Ganga coming onto the matted locks of Shiva. There are 2 inscriptions etched on the side, and this was a creation of a great king named Mahendravarman Pallava in the 7th century AD. Next, please. We now come to Mamallapuram, which is about 45 minutes from the city of Chennai. Look at the carving. Look at how beautifully the 2 pillars, these are not built. These have been scooped out of hard rock. And look at how perfect they are. You can't build something like this today, but you could scoop out of hard rock and carve something like this in the 7th century AD. Next, please. And these are all the monumental sculptures inside, all carved directly on hard granite over here. Next 2 slides. Stop here, please. The previous one. I want you to notice here, this is Trivikrama, the form of Vishnu Vamana, who became Trivikrama. You can just look at it for a second and say, I've seen this sculpture, and you can pass on. But you can also notice that on the left side, the 4 hands come in front of the leg. So did this sculptor carve the hands first, or did he carve the leg first? And if you notice very carefully, the leg can be seen in 4 portions: the thigh, the middle part, the ankle, and the toe sticking up over there. So, you know, if I had to draw this on a piece of paper, I think I would be reaching for my eraser before I reached for my pencil. But this is on hard rock, and not a single mistake was done over here. If If you look at the right-hand side, the sword runs in front of the first two hands and behind that hand that's up there. Look at the thought process and look at the execution. Next, please. And this is Lakshmi. Even if I have to show only a few slides and I know I'm running out of time, I'll just do this and I'll get off the stage before the bell rings. I want you to look at a very exquisite Lakshmi. You know, Lakshmi is always said to be seated in Padmasana, like this. We know that that's the iconographically correct way of representing Lakshmi. But the Pallava sculptor of the 7th century was so ingenious. This also is Padmasana because she's seated on a lotus, Padma Asana. All right? So, there is goddess Lakshmi. And nowadays, if you buy a gold coin, if you buy a sculpture or a painting, the two gajas or two elephants will be perfectly poised about her, turning their pots upside down and pouring water on her. That's not the case here. The elephant to our left holds a pot of water. So directly above the head of Lakshmi, and he's pouring the Abhisheka Jala, the holy water. Now that elephant on the other side is wrapping his trunk around the pot of water that is held by the maid in waiting. Now when this elephant pours the water and brings his trunk down, that elephant will take his pot of water and do the Abhisheka. By which time this elephant will bring his pot of water down and take this pot of water. You see? You talk about animation, you talk about graphics. What is this? Is animation from the 7th century AD and done directly on hard stone. Next, please. And this is goddess Durga, very badly mutilated. We are a country of vandals. Let's accept it. From then to now, we like to vandalize the best of things. So this is a man to her right and to our left. Can you see that he's cutting off his own head? So this was a tradition that was practiced in ancient India for various reasons into which I can't go now for time constraints. But we have graphic illustrations from Indian art about customs and social practices that were prevalent in times bygone. Next, please. Look at this. Durga is Mahishasuramardini. Absolutely animated. Mahishasura is caught in that moment in stone when he's just about to topple, and Durga has to let go of her arrow. That's all. She is absolutely feminine, but an absolute personification of courage over there. Chin up. Can you see that? Next, please. Now we are going to another next step in temple architecture. This is also 7th century. This is also South India. We have left the chiseling in tradition, cutting into hard rock. Instead of that, we are cutting out hard rock. So each of these monuments that you see here has been cut out of a single boulder of granite, and each is in a different shape, each is in a different size. Please run through the next few slides very fast. So see this, that was for Durga. Please keep going. For Shiva, for reclining Vishnu. Look at the top, beautifully chiseled. And as they came to the bottom, work unfortunately stopped. This was for Shiva, stop here. This is a 3-storied building. Can you believe that? They were starting from the top and working their way towards the bottom. There is a first story with a Pradakshina Patha. There is a second story with a Pradakshina Patha. They were going to put the lowermost Garbhagriha and put a Pradakshina Patha, and they were going to connect all 3 with a staircase. Unfortunately, work stopped. We don't know the reason. What they were trying to do in a single piece of granite was to have 3 vertically aligned sanctum with 3 Pradakshina passages interconnected inside with a stairway in the 7th century AD. Next, please. Next. We talk of portrait sculptures. This is a portrait sculpture of the 7th century king, Mamalla, great wrestler, Narasimhavarman, and his portrait is here. Next, please. Next. Now, this is another Gajaprishta temple, meaning the back is like an elephant. Next slide. So, the Pallava sculptors on purpose chose 2 rocks, one big and one small, sitting next to each other. They didn't write down in an inscription that this is a Gajaprishta temple. All they did was to change the small rock into an elephant with its back facing in the same direction, so that you will know that that is a Gaja, elephant, with a Prishta, back, and this is a Gajaprishta monument. It was for you to understand this. Next, please. Even if you didn't know all that, this sculpture by itself is so beautiful, and you think this is tuskless. But I think the sculptors of the 7th century left it behind just like that. I think that, you know what they would have done? There were so many war elephants that were left dying, so they would have pulled out the tusks and they inserted it here, and it would have looked very lifelike, like a real elephant. But that's my take on it. Next, please. Ellora, Elephanta, beautiful cave temples, 8th century. Next, please. And this is how it looks. Please keep going. Next few slides. This is so well known, but imagine making an unfortunately this not many people know about. Southernmost region of Tamil Nadu, there's a place called Kalugumalai. Look at it from the top. Next one. What they did in the 8th century was like to slice that mountain, like maybe we would slice a piece of cake into trenches, 3 trenches. Next. And next, in that trench, they created this. So this is a monolithic. Don't you think this is absolutely amazing? Next, please. So this is how it looks when you see it separately. Next. And this is how it looks when you see it from the top. This also has not been completed. Next, please. And this is how it looks when you see it from this side. A phenomenal amount of work has been done over here. Next. Next, please. Please keep going. Next. And this is the famous Kailash temple in Ellora. This was, we don't use the word build, you use chiseled. So this was done almost at the same time as that one in Tamil Nadu was done. Out of one piece of living rock, they have carved something this magnificent. Next, please. I just take 2 more minutes. This is Ellora. Next, keep going. Out of one piece of rock. Now this is a temple that has been constructed, stone upon stone upon stone. Keep going. Next few slides. Next few slides. Just keep going very fast. So you can see how temple architecture develops. The temples are getting, keep going, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of the sculptures were painted once upon a time. This was soft vegetable dye. Look at this Shiva over here. This is Urdhva Tandava. Next. And the genuine vegetable colors that the temples were painted with. I want to concentrate on this temple, and even if I stop with this, there's no problem. This is a temple in Kanchipuram, the famous city in South India. Next, this is the only, keep going, next few slides, the only temple in the whole world that has a series of sculptures. Next, please, over here. Next, just look at the inner walls. Stop here. Those inconspicuous, very dirty sculptures that you're seeing here, they shouldn't be whitewashed. They should be taken care of very carefully, because they showcase, for the first and the last time in the history of the world, in sculpture, all the events that took place in the reign of one dynasty. One king is born, all the things he did, and then he dies, and then his son comes to the throne, all the things he did and he dies, and next son. For about almost 6 centuries, they have showcased everything on the walls of this temple. My time's up. I meant to show you very much more, but it's just that no amount of time is enough. I just want to say one thing. You know, all over the world, when we think of treasures, we are only thinking of gold and diamonds and jewels and all kinds of things. But these are India's treasures. Our temples, the great architecture, the pieces of sculpture, and all the inscriptions that have been left behind for us, these are also very, very great treasures. I don't know why we don't think of them as such. Our ancestors over the last 2,000 years have given us this immense treasure, immense treasure. All we need to do, it's very simple, all we need to do is to take care of it and pass it on to posterity, because this is the inheritance we have, and this is the inheritance we have to take forward. Thank you very much.